Evening, everyone. Welcome to our Affineur of the Year 2026 webinar, first one of the year. As you guys are just joining us on the webinar, I'll tell you a little bit about what's happening at Academy of Cheese. All the level 3 and advanced level modules are now available, so fill your boots. I met someone yesterday who's studying with us. She's already a fellow. She's in hospitality and she's tackling the milk production module. Just has, Matthew was involved a lot in that. You're nodding. She was, that's not kind of her bag, but she's going for it. So there's some really interesting modules out there. Affineur of the Year is our next big event, which is at Christchurch in Spitalfields this year, the most beautiful church, one of the most beautiful churches in London, and where Alexander McQueen had his first fashion show. So we're, just being very fashionable and cool. And that's on the 16th of June. So do come and join us. There are tickets on sale for that on the website. But tonight I'm here. I'm Tracy Colley, most of you know, founding director of the Academy of Cheese. But I'm going to hand you over to Matthew, who's going to lead the webinar tonight with the wonderful Claire Burt and the wonderful Perry Wakeman. So Matthew, I'm going to hand over to you and we'll get going.
Yeah. Well, hello everyone. I'm Matthew Luke. Been with the Academy now for over a year as the events coordinator, being involved with the Affineur of the Year awards, which they're coming up in like 5 weeks now. And with us tonight, we've got Claire Burt and Perry Wakeman, who have been competitors of the awards in previous years. Perry this year is a judge, having won it 3 years. Shall we start with Claire?
Sure. Good evening.
Hi Claire. So you, how many times have you participated in the awards?
So we first entered in 2024. We were encouraged by Tracy to enter the Stilton category as blue cheesemakers. It sort of seemed like an obvious category to enter. And then we also entered last year. We sort of challenged ourselves a bit more last year. We entered the Stilton. Actually, it was Shropshire Blue, sorry, last year. And we also entered the Solstice. So we had 2 entries. And this year we've gone all out. We've entered some more categories and really challenged ourselves. So looking forward to it.
So the awards are quite an interesting mixture of cheesemongers and cheesemakers. And it's quite fascinating to see the approach. And I guess when we come to Perry, who's a monger, we'll see his approach. Actually, first of all, do you want to tell us a little bit about the history of your company and how you got into cheese making first?
Yeah. So Burt's Cheese, I started Burt's Cheese back in 2009. I was working for a big Irish dairy cooperative, and they were processing block cheese. So I think they were grating something like 400 ton of cheese a week, and that was going into food manufacturing, ready meals, pizzas, sandwiches. And I suppose I loved my role there. It was I'd been to lots of different dairies across the UK, across Europe, but I was doing a lot of traveling. I was doing a lot of driving. Was wanting to start a family. Wanted a little bit more to do something for myself, and then started Burt's Cheese. So it started very much on the kitchen table at home, and I was making. People ask why blue cheese. It's just a cheese I liked. I hadn't really done some big deep dive into the market.
The best reason, I guess.
Blue cheese, soft blue cheese, had a fairly quick turnaround. So as a startup business, that was helpful as we were starting out. And then
where did you get the milk from? Sorry, initially.
So we were buying our milk in, and that's always been, I suppose, a challenge for us as a startup. Was coming at it not from a farming background, but coming from I guess like a cheesemaker. But we've actually most recently moved on to the farm at Bidlea Dairy. So now we're actually on a farm where they're sort of dairy farmers. They're making ice cream with their milk, and then we're buying our milk now from them to make our cheese. So
Lovely.
yeah, if I could have started out life there, we would have done. But it's been a long journey, 15 coming up 16 years now.
Wow.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sort of we make still make blue moldy cheeses, and I should say that last year actually my colleague that I'd taken on, Tom, who sort of had been with me sort of 10 years, he actually bought into the business last year. So we're sort of onwards and upwards, hopefully.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So how many cheeses do you produce at the moment?
So we make our Burt's Blue. We make a sort of a little mini truckle, and we make a sort of a cutting deli style wheel. We make our Drunken Burt, which is a sort of it is a mold ripened cheese, but we wash that in a cider, a Wakeman cider, and that sort of it isn't a typical wash rind cheese. We're still looking for it to be a mold ripened cheese, but we're not piercing it. So we're sort of getting that kind of like ripening from the outside rather than that internal bluing. And then most recently, and I suppose one of the reasons we're sort of talking tonight about Affineur of the Year and our inspiration. So our product, our latest cheese is Bidlea Blue, which really came out of our entry into Affineur of the Year back in 2024. So that's a Cheshire style blue with a vine wrap. But I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking about that now or if I've jumped ahead.
No, yeah, look. So some people will have tasting boxes
Yes.
that they've paid for and you've sent out to them.
Yes.
So we will taste along. You'll do a little structured tasting. But I think first of all, let's hear the story of the Bidlea Blue, and I guess how it was born from the competition. What was your what was your what was your relationship with affinage before the competition, and how did the competition change your relationship, if at all? If that's too much of a leading
Yeah,
question.
that's a long question. No, it's good. I suppose for me, I mean, affinage was a term, I'd be honest, I had heard of. I hadn't really given it much thought. And then I'd been down
Mm,
to the Academy of Cheese, the Affineur of the Year, the previous year, and just been a bit wowed by the experience. It was something. The room is, I mean, it was a fairly small room, but it was a buzz, the atmosphere, and just super exciting to see how people had taken on all different cheeses and what they were doing. And I think came away just thinking, yeah, wow. And then when Tracy said about entering, I was like, oh, that feels out of our league a little bit. It's like there's a lot. But I suppose the blue cheese didn't feel as scary. The sort of the
yeah.
Stilton, but making something go blue and how you look after it. For us, we're handling 1 kilo cheeses. They're small. Our maturing
Mm.
rooms, they're all packed quite tightly into trays to keep the humidity high. They're easy to handle. They're only in the maturing room for 2 weeks. Our little cheese piercers are sort of like quite stubby. We can get through the cheeses quite easily. And suddenly we've got this 8 kilo cheese, a very different structure, and we've got to sort of
So
work out how to keep humidity and handle it.
so just for those who might not know, there are 5 cheeses in the competition,
Yeah.
5 different categories. So there's a Quicke cheddar, uh, the Baron Bigod, it's a Stilton this year, 8 kilo Stilton. We have a 2 kilo Rachel cheese, the semi-soft washed rind goat's cheese, and the Gorwood Philly. And so with the blue cheese, the Stilton, and last year was a Shropshire Blue,
Yeah.
the it's almost the highlight of the whole day, I think, of when people cut open the cheese and whether they've managed to get it blue or not. I feel like with that particular category, most people sort of their main aim is just to get it to blue. They're not trying anything fancy. But you already have experience of that being a blue cheese maker. But you say that because it's a bigger cheese, you had different challenges.
Yeah, I mean, just the size of it, just handling an 8 kilo cheese is very different. And then
Mm,
ours are soft blues, so we can the texture is sort of like quite you can get like a sort of a blotchy blue. You know, the way a Stilton blue would be quite a different sort of the way it more sort of spiders out through the curd. So just yeah, you're right. That sort of that feeling of like, oh gosh, have we made it go blue? Have we got enough, you know, of the oxygen in? Have we been able to pierce it enough at the right age? And then for us, really, because I say, you know, the humidity, we keep that through packing them quite tightly into quite small trays. You know, putting an 8 kilo, you know, we couldn't. How do we store it and keep the humidity high?
Mm.
So that's why we introduced the vine leaf wrap that we put on that year. The idea was to sort of, I suppose for us, it's a technique we'd used before, but for us it was about trying to keep that bigger cheese from cracking, from drying too much, keeping a little bit of
So
the humidity.
is that similar to cloth binding a cheese? Essentially, it keeps the humidity in, but still allows it to be breathable. Like, what does the vine leaf bring to the cheese
That
with
was sort of
affinage?
that was our kind of thought process. In fact, last year we actually did do a cloth bind with a sort of similar idea. It was like, but I think actually last year when we entered the Shropshire Blue, we almost, unfortunately, I think we probably wrapped it too early. We probably sealed it a bit too much, and
Mm,
it didn't break down as much the paste if we didn't get enough bluing through it. But it was just an
mm.
interesting process, you know, how much those vine leaves, and perhaps when we did it as well, perhaps a little bit later in the process. So yeah, it's you're always learning, you know.
Yeah, it's funny you saying that you didn't really know too much about affinage. Uh, I guess before the competition. I feel like it's a common thing that I hear that I think in the British cheese industry, affinage sort of gets overlooked a little bit, but everyone does it. You just don't really know that you're doing it. Like every cheesemaker is performing some sort of affinage, but it's not a very yeah, it's generally an overlooked aspect, but a very key aspect of the whole cheese making process. Um, so I think personally for me, it's great to highlight this in the awards and to really show everyone starts with the same cheese, the same base cheese from the same batch. Everyone does their thing to it, and you get such different results, and you really get a grasp of just how key the affinage process is in the end product of the cheese. Do you think that's fair
Yeah,
to say?
yeah, I think it's you're right. It's a term that if you say to somebody about, you know, affinage or an affineur of the year, the sort of the questions, well, what you know, what is it? What's that? But I think when
Mm,
you explain to people what it is, I think it people are sort of intrigued by the fact that you can start out with something like you say, the same base cheese, and then even maybe just through the storerooms, just how you handle it, yeah, just your take on it. You can create such a different cheese from the you know
mm.
from the next one. So yeah, I think it's a really yeah, it's an exciting process to go through. I think when you like when you say when you actually really think about it and think about what you can kind of tweak and change, that's when it becomes really interesting as a and challenging.
It's yeah, it's like the very small parameters that you change garner really big results,
Mm,
big differences, which is it's quite exciting for me.
yeah, yeah. No, I
So the
think
Bidlea Blue, like where how how did you go from the competition to the cheese that you have now?
so we always made soft blue cheeses, so soft mold ripened blues, and that was I suppose again like I was saying before, cash flow startup. It was quite I wouldn't say it's necessarily an easy recipe, but it was a sort of a quick recipe. And then I guess just handling that sort of that more territorial style of cheese in the
Mm,
Stilton, thinking about the different structure. We're based in Cheshire, and I suppose you know I love Cheshire cheese, and it would be I thought what would be great to do. Wouldn't it be great to do something a bit more on a Cheshire as a Cheshire recipe? So a hard blue. So I think for us, you know, we wouldn't necessarily make a traditional Cheshire because we're not really set up to do that, but a Cheshire blue sort of. So we yeah look still started making a Cheshire blue. It's a 2 kilo wheel, so it's still relatively small. And then the idea again of adding that vine leaf in around to sort of around the structure to keep it protect it and sort of mature it on in the vine leaves. So I guess
mm,
that's it sort of it just a bit like you were saying then, you know, sort of when you start to think about the word affinage, it's like, well, okay, yeah, you're right. We do it on a day-to-day basis, but what could we, if we really thought about it, what could we do? And I think
mm.
just taking a different style of cheese, challenging ourselves, and using some of those techniques. Yeah, that's kind of how Bidlea and the name Bidlea worked quite well because we'd moved onto the farm with Bidlea Dairy. We know
Yeah.
using their milk, it's the Bidlea herd, and it's just it sort of feels like we're sort of in Cheshire, and we've kind of, it's a nice addition to the range,
Yeah.
I think.
Lovely. Shall we try
Before
some?
you do, before you do before you do the tasting, can I
Hmm.
ask you from a kind of a business perspective, Claire? You've now created a new cheese for your business, and
Yes.
you've now taken on your employee has become part of the business very much as a shareholder.
Yeah.
So how do you feel that's going to work in the future for your business? Is Affinage now, as a cheesemaker, Affinage is a key part, and are you going to use that to expand your business even more?
I think that for us is something that Tom and I have discussed. I think, I keep going back to being a startup business, but I know it's 15 years on, so I should get over that now, really. But there's still a lot of investment that goes into cheese
Yes.
making, and the equipment and the stock. And I think that, to take another sort of leap forward and make more cheese, make more, there's always a risk involved in expanding. But for us, the idea of the affinage and maybe taking cheeses from a local cheesemaker and where we can maybe add some value or add our signature rind to it, is something that Tom and I are working on. I think we're quite luckily based in Cheshire, so there's a very good Cheshire maker, Applebee's, and they've got a great cheese, and it's just whether we could do something with them to create something a bit different, and also maybe other cheesemakers where, again, you don't want to become too complicated, but the opportunities are there, I think, with affinage. And I suppose for us, it feels like for the growth of the business, I think that's what we're looking to do a bit more of.
Absolutely. And I think there was just an article in the Telegraph this weekend about the distinction of extinction sorry, of some of the territorial cheeses and how, they were so popular during the war years, and they faded out more and more with the oncoming of modern cheeses. So those territorials, so if you can give them an extra angle using affinage and your business skills and your affinage skills now, that's just a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for us, we still feel like newbies in the cheese, the cheese world. It's sort of, there's so much provenance and heritage around those traditional territorial cheeses. But you're right, I suppose so. Yeah, if we can do something with them and make and give them a bit of a twist and add a bit of modernity to them, then and if it can help sort
absolutely.
of re-establish them as firm favourites, then that would be perfect. Yeah.
Well, it's collaboration as well, which is fantastic. And the fact that if you can go to local producers, so you're collaborating with local businesses, and then there's new cheeses on the market and new British cheese on the market. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I applaud you for your 15 years.
Thank you.
And believe me, I got an amazing comment from David, who was at Meet the Makers yesterday. Hello, David. And he's saying the drunken Burt was outstanding. So which two cheeses are we going to try tonight?
Unfortunately, we haven't got the drunken Burt tonight.
Sorry, well, he tried it yesterday anyway.
Oh, well, that's all right then.
David's fine.
So we thought
tell us all about them and talk us through.
So the two cheeses we put together tonight were the two, I suppose, if you like, the original, the Burt's Blue, which is a soft mold ripened blue, and that's and then alongside that, then we've got the Bidlea Blue. So the Bidlea is obviously a different cheese. It's a Cheshire-based recipe, so it's a very different process. The soft blue, we're looking at kind of that acidification, which happens sort of once we've molded up the curds, and then it's a long, slow pH drop. So then we're looking at salting. We salt day 2, and then we're getting that real mold development on the rind, and then we pierce that around about day 7. So we've got that kind of blotchy blue within the little pockets that haven't we're not pressing that cheese at all. So that's the original, that's the Burt's Blue. And then alongside
Do
that,
you have some in front of you now?
yes, I do.
If you can just
Yes.
hold it up for people who
So I'm going to
might
say, do you
not
want me
have.
to?
Yeah,
It's because I've focused out the background. I can't. There
yeah,
we
it's
go.
blurring
That's
out
it.
a little
That's
bit, like holding
perfect.
up
That's
something obscene.
perfect.
Yeah, there we go. So there's the soft mold ripen. So you get some softening from the rind underneath, like you would a typical mold ripened cheese, like a brie. But then you also get some softening around those blotches of blues as well. And then you can sometimes you can sort of see where we've pierced top to bottom on that, where you've got that sort of like that line of blue as well, where the oxygen's gone in.
Just can you hold it up a little higher, a bit higher, Claire?
Sorry.
It's okay. We've got lots of people joined from America and from Paris
right.
and from Canada who won't have the cheese. So, and you pierce vertically, don't you?
Yeah, so we pierce these ones, top, turn, and then bottom. So with a sort of it's like a four-pronged handheld piercer. So we just across the top, quick turn, and then across the top again.
And that shape of that cheese is quite unusual. Is what molds? Is it colander molds?
It's a colander. Yeah, colanders are cheaper than cheese molds, so it was easier to invest in 50 colanders at the time. But I actually quite like the shape. I think for us, it gives us a bit of a point of difference, and I think it sits quite nicely. It's a nice size of
usually a little UFO, isn't it?
Yeah, depends if we've turned it at the right time, if it's got a flat top or.
Well, from being a cheesemonger for 6 years, it's quite tricky when they get to small wedges and trying to stand them up in the counter and look beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
But when it's a fantastic cheese, it's worth it.
Yeah. So that's the Burt's Blue. And then do you want me to talk about the
describe the Bidlea to us and then we'll taste them. Then
the
you
Bidlea,
can taste them for us.
The Bidlea actually is,
Oh,
you're right.
wow.
It's easier to hold the Bidlea because it's a better shape or a more unique shape. So the Bidlea is made in a straight-sided cheese mold. And again, different process. We're looking for a quicker acidification. So it's following that sort of more territorial, traditional acidification. And then we're milling the curd, salting the curd, and then we're molding up day one. And then we're not pressing as such. We just we stack the cheeses. We don't have a cheese press, but we're sort of using weight of the cheeses and then rotating them to get the press effect. So again, we're piercing, you can see where we've sort of pierced again, top to bottom. And you do get a little bit more, I would say less blotches, but more kind of, it sort of spiders into the curd a little bit more where it stays a bit open. That's where you got a little bit more around the outsides. And then the vine wrap, you sort of see the vine leaves, we sort of apply those around about day 10. Sorry, the focus isn't very good. And they're soaked in a little bit of cider, so sort of to make sure that they stick and adhere to the cheese. And
still with the Quicke cider?
Still with Watkins, yes.
Yeah, I always love
Tom's favourite.
If anybody's tried Quicke cider, it's
hearty.
It's hard, but that's a good description. It's hearty. It's a scrumpy style cider, isn't it? I've had it at many festival in Cheshire and Shropshire. So taste them through for us, Claire. Tell us all about them. Alison is Alison Tuck, who's one of our fellows. Hello, Alison, is here in the chat, and she's saying we've started tasting. She always gets going early. They are both gorgeous, so that's great news. Thank you, Alison. So taste them through. Give us some descriptors.
So our soft blue. People describe it often as it's quite a young blue. We maximum really take that up to about 12 weeks. So there isn't a huge amount of time in terms of aging on the cheese. So I'd say it stays quite young. On the cheese, the samples that we sent out, there's quite a nice breakdown under the rind that we were getting from that sort of from the mold ripen. And then I think there is a little bit of chalkiness still in the centre on that one. And I don't mind that in the cheese if it's at the right balance. So, if we'd left it a little bit longer, we would have got a slightly smoother paste throughout, but a little bit of chalkiness is okay. It's really for us on the aging, it's about making sure we're getting rid of those early bitter notes. So we're trying to get rid of those through the age. If I start eating now, I won't be able to talk, will I?
Well,
I'll put
I'll read some descriptions out of the chat, and
okay.
you
I'll
can
try a bit.
have a taste, and then you can tell us. So Isaiah, hello Isaiah, is saying, nice, great tanginess from the mold. Fantastic. So we love that where you get a little bit of spice from the bluing.
Yeah, I think you get a little bit more spiciness on the Bidlea, a little bit. I think on this one as well, particularly this was so sometimes, we talk about like cheese, it's never the same, is it? But on this one, there's a little bit more. I'd say sometimes you get a little bit of mucor on the rind, which again, in the right balance is okay. But sometimes you get you get a little bit of that mucor, sort of like velvety rind on that one as well.
And
So for
you would
those who don't
definitely use
know,
the
the
you, go on, sorry,
mucor
Matthew.
is for those who might not know, mucor is the
Yeah,
grey mold, and it is quite velvety. It's the one that's covers the kafili, Galway kafili,
it is.
or a sand nectar. It's very
Yeah,
sort of like suede.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's a nice description.
yeah.
Or
Yeah,
like
and I think sometimes that.
stroking a little mouse.
Well, it's also called quite grossly cat fur mold. Um,
Mm.
and
Oh
I
no,
don't.
no, stop that, stop.
Yeah, well,
And you would not after Matthew's description, but you would eat the rind,
We would
Claire,
on the yeah,
happily.
absolutely on the mold ripen. I mean, some rinds are more desirable, and some molds are slightly more desirable from a customer perspective. It'd be nicer sometimes if the mold stayed a bit sort of brighter and blue. But I think sometimes the balance of the mucor is quite nice. Like you say, it gives you that sort of kind of soft, velvety texture, but it also sort of yeah. I don't dislike. It's part of the cheese. It's a characteristic, and I think when you eat the rind, you get some of that flavour as well.
Yeah,
it's
and
definitely something
more
that
like an earthy flavour.
Yeah,
yeah. And for
I
those
haven't got any cheese, sorry.
I know.
who are a little bit hesitant about eating the rind on cheese, I always like to say if you're going to try the rind, don't just eat the rind by itself, as so many people do. They'll nibble a little bit of like a brie rind and say, "Oh no, I don't like that."
Yeah.
But then I think you need to have everything all together. You need to get a bit of the paste. You want to get the whole cross section of the cheese to really appreciate everything together, I think.
I think you're right. I
That's
think
my advice.
the rind is part of the cheese, and the blue that grows on the outside is really the blue that grows on the inside. So it's
Yeah,
sort of one and part of the
it's all
cheese.
part and parcel.
But I think yeah, you do want to get a fuller picture from from all of the cheese, and especially on a sort of a kilo cheese. It is very much integral to the whole cheese. Yeah, you don't want to just
Yeah.
be sort of chopping out the middle bit.
I find it akin
And
to eating the crust on a baguette or something. No one's just picking off the crust off the baguette.
No,
You
that's
eat
true.
the whole cross section.
Yeah.
as children, we always used to eat the middle, never the crust.
Yeah, but we're adults
Um,
now.
so Claire, I want to ask you because nobody is in the chat. So on the piece of Bidlea Blue that you held up, you had a lot
Yes.
of blue at one edge and not so much at the other. Can you explain the reasons for that, or is that
So just on here. Oh,
yeah, bring
sorry.
it into
The focus is
oh,
terrible.
oh yes, yeah, no, you're fine. Bring it
There
towards
we go.
you. That's it. Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I suppose in all honesty, we're still learning a little bit how the Bidley is bluing up. I think the texture is very different to the Burt's Blue, and it did take us, it took us a few years to get the piercing right on the Burt's Blue. So we used to think sort of if you like bigger holes would allow more oxygen, but actually it was the frequency and the timing of the piercing that was more important. And we only learnt that probably two years in. And also salt and moisture on the soft blue. We've had times where the salt and moisture, we were perhaps getting more yield out of the vat, and our salt and moisture was thrown off, and we weren't getting enough salt to encourage that blue. Again, we learnt that. So I think with the Bidley, we've certainly learnt about the salting. Again, we're
Right.
milling and salting, so that's getting the evenness of that. that's been a challenge, and I think that's really helping on the blue, and also making sure we're sort of sealing it as well. So we're not getting too much migration of sort of undesirables in there, if that makes sense.
No, that's fantastic. And so in terms of flavour profile, the Bidlea is, would you say it's a more punchy blue because you've obviously got more blue in there. Soft cheese is usually a little bit less. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can actually age the Bidley on another 2, 4 weeks. And I think at that point, when we can get that sort of even more maturity through the cheese, which we can't really get on the soft because the mold does start to break down a little bit. With the Bidley, we can take it that bit further. I think when you can take the blue cheese further, sometimes you get more biscuity notes. You can get a bit more sweetness through, and I quite like that sort of transition then as it gets a bit older. So for me, it has a bit of sweetness, a bit more biscuity. The blue's a bit more spicy, and I quite like the texture when it goes kind of a bit sort of fudgy, sort of almost under the rind a bit. It's a very different, yeah.
I would love
So
to
we've
hear from the
got
chat if
yeah,
people are
I'm
tasting the
just
cheese, what the tasting notes are that people are picking up from it.
well, I've got a
It's
great
always
I didn't realise that Sue was here either as well. Hi Sue, Susan Sturman's in the chat. And Sue is one of our judges from day dot of Affineur of the Year. So lovely to have you with us. Hope you're well. And Sue is saying, Claire, so the Bidlea is a milled curd. So
It
you
is,
are
yes.
not quaffing the curd. It seems like the curd has nicked together a bit. I don't have the cheese, so I can't get a sense of the texture.
Yeah,
But it is, you were describing it as fudgy, weren't you, just then, I think, as Sue was
yes.
writing.
Yeah, so it is a mill curd. I wouldn't say it stays as open as a traditional sort of Cheshire, I guess. Sort of, yeah, the size we're making, and then I think because of the fact we're sort of sealing it with the vine leaf and are just getting that sort of breakdown and fudginess. But it does become it's a closer texture than a sort of a traditional Cheshire would be.
I think fudgy, having tasted it previously, fudgy's a really good description of the texture. But
Yeah,
anybody, yes, tasting who've got the samples, do add your tasting notes into the chat, please do. But thank you, Claire. That was brilliant. Matthew, have you got any more questions for Claire before we move on to Perry?
no, no. Looking forward to your entries in the upcoming competition.
Yeah,
Really looking forward to
yeah,
it.
yeah, we'll see.
I know. Top
Yeah,
secret.
looking forward to
Yeah.
it. But can I just say thank you to everyone that did buy the boxes and supported us. Hope everyone got their cheeses and they're happy with them.
Thank you. No, brilliant. Thank you for sending them out. It's a really great job. Right, I'm going to remove your spotlight and bring the wonderful Perry into the spotlight and over to you, Matthew.
Yeah.
Here he is.
Hi, Perry.
With cheese. With cheeses.
With cheese, and you look like you have a shock of blue hair, like a Simpsons character or something. But I assume
Yeah,
that's just a hairnet.
it's the hairnet in between because I have to go through quite a few rooms to get here. So yeah, the hairnet is required when leaving the room and the beard net, but not while I'm in here. So yeah, so going for the Marge Simpson look at the moment.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, behind you, you have quite a lot of cheeses.
Yeah.
We'll come to those in a second. Tell us your experiences of the competition. So you're a cheesemonger,
Yeah.
the other side of the coin of the competition from Claire. When did you first compete?
Yeah, so God, that's tough, right? So 4 years ago was the first competition when I competed. Yeah, like we're cheesemongers traditionally, but we were doing affinage for a long time, sort of about 6 years before that, playing around, doing little experiments and things like that. And then like more formalizing, going to see the lovely Sue Sturman, who's in the chat, who runs the Mons course. And that was just really inspirational for us, how respected and how big affinage is in France. and we wanted a little slice of that back here, so we just became
Yeah.
more formal in what we were doing.
Well, can you just explain actually? So I think for people at home, it's relatively easy to understand affinage from a cheesemaker's perspective. They make their cheese, they age it in their cellars, and then they sell it. For a cheesemonger, where do you fit in? Like what is affinage from the cheesemonger perspective? Why are you affinaging
Yeah.
rather than the cheesemaker? Like
I,
what's your role in this?
I suppose the simple answer to that is, why do you go to a Michelin star restaurant? Like you find a chef that can cook a steak, but just the way you like it. Why do you go to your favorite restaurant? And for
Mm.
us, it's about adding our own personality to what already is great, and also being able to categorize, our sort of customer profile, find out, work with restaurants, hotels, cheese counters, what their almost spider graph is of their customer type, and then really honing into that by using those selective pressures. So
So you would buy the cheeses in quite young before
yeah,
they've had the chance to gain their character, and then you direct them to where you want them to go.
so a real mix, start to finish affinage, midway, finishing, like that's what it's about really, assessing the cheese. The real
Mm.
fun stuff is start to finish, like that's like where you can really imprint your personality on a cheese at an early phase. But yeah, that's like the whole idea. And cheesemakers are really, really busy people, and like because we're working on a smaller scale to them and focused in one targeted area, which is, what do these cheeses need to be the best that they can be? We can really focus and hone in on that area as well. So, not saying we do it better or anything, we just can just like, go in with one plan and that's it. We don't have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, even though I do, and make cheese and then mature cheese. We like come in here and just like, what's going on with this cheese and what can we do to make it better? Is it ready? It's ready. Let's get it out. Let's get it to some people that really like it.
Mm. So okay, so you're already doing the affinage side of things before the competition
Yeah.
came into fruition. So you entered to prove something? Like what?
Oh God, straight to the core. No, to be honest, it's something that we love doing here, and like to see that it would be celebrated and maybe raise the profile of affinage and more
Yeah.
people understand it and support the whole process. Like learn from each other, show. We believe in our standard, show our standard that we operate to, and share that standard, and hopefully and I think it definitely has, like the industry has grown. You know to put a number on it, I wouldn't know what to do, but there's less and less people in the world where I say I'm mature cheese and they look at me a little bit more quizzed. There since that first competition, which is thanks to the academy and just people realizing the power of affinage and maturing. So yeah, it was just support it. Yeah.
What? And then you went on to win 3 times.
Yeah, yeah. It never leaves me that.
That's
But
why we've
Well,
kicked you out this year. We're
I
giving
mean,
some other people a chance.
yeah, so you're no longer a competitor. You're now judging the
yeah.
awards, which is a great. How does that feel going from
Oh,
competitor
yeah.
to
Like I love it. I love the competition. I love like I felt like last year we really like broke some sort of mold in sort of more collaboration and more talks
Mm,
and more discussions and more just conversations, not only in our country but internationally. I had so many people reach out to me about the Dillon technique and just a more like, yeah, like that was a really good cheese rather than being a competition. It might be hard to believe, but I don't particularly like that kind of like aggressive competition. And I think affinage for me is that collaboration because I share all my notes, they're open plan, and QR code scans, you can go and see everything that I do. And I always say, it's one thing to say you're going to do it and share your notes, but to actually do it is like pretty wild. Like I was explaining that, you know, with these cheeses, the Dillon, the batch, you know, there was excuses where I would say to my son, "Oh, do you fancy just going to the cafe just beyond the maturing room so I could nip in and turn them a few times?" And it's that like dedication, like to it, that makes like the difference. I kind of think so. Yeah.
You are completely dedicated. We've got a good question actually, which might be appropriate at this point from Nick Cordy. Hi, Nick. Perry, would you affinage differently if you were in a different part of the UK/world for a different market, or would you do what you are doing in Stamford?
Wow, that's a really good question. And so just like,
well, I think,
quite
I mean, climates might make a difference, wasn't it? And what people want to eat.
So there's like factors, you know, like how you grew up, what your flavor, you know, taste buds are like growing up, what you liked, what you didn't like. So I suppose that's like nature nurture kind of like scenario. But and I suppose like the thing is, you know, we mature good cheese and people like our cheese in our region, you know, so you would have to change your approach if their palates were different. So, you know, if certain countries like certain different styles, you would have to change to accommodate that, because you wouldn't survive and you wouldn't be able to do the things that you love. So the answer is yes and no. I you know, in the UK, I fundamentally believe the way that we mature cheese is really great, and our customer base been so supportive in what we do, and there's always that two-way conversation with if I did a good job or a bad job or an okay job, and that like keeps me really grounded in what I'm doing and all the notes that I kind of bring together. Does that answer the question? I don't know.
Yeah, it does. It was a difficult question. And how, because you've got a retail shop in Stamford as well, which was an expansion of the original business.
Yeah.
Which was more wholesaling and affinage. And so how long's Stamford been going?
3 years now. So I mean, so we just fitted an awning outside today, which is really exciting. So people can sit outside and eat cheese and drink wine. What's better on a beautiful high street like Stamford? But yeah, it was just about, you know, we've been wholesaling a lot of cheese to cheese counters and things like that, being really successful in that region. And I've been advising people like, this is what I would do, and I hadn't done it. Like, so like there's this idea where it's like, well, actually, let's put that money where our mouth is, and we're just so pleased with the shop. We've got tremendous support like locally. And like Christmas is crazy. We've got people driving like 6 hours to see us on their Christmas day. We have like 8 cheesemongers behind the counter at all times. You come in for your Christmas cheese and you're with that cheesemonger all the way to the end so you can get the perfect cheese board. We have a one-way system. It's like, it's energy there. I mean, there's no better place than maturing a cheese, putting it on a counter, sitting in front of someone and watching their eyes light up. And I think in the first year that I won, you know, that was the real difference for me. I mature a lot of cheese. I'm really confident in it. It sells well. It goes out to chefs. I get the occasional comment. So I know I'm doing a good job. But at the Affineur of the Year, it's like everyone was commenting on that first cheese, Priscilla. And yeah, that was another reason why I loved the Affineur of the Year competition. Yeah.
Well, and you won. So this leads us in greatly. Which cheese is behind you? And Alison is asking, why did Perry call it the Dillon technique? So sorry, Matthew, I'm stealing your.
No, I was going to go for it. I mean, like we've alluded to, you won the competition. There's cheeses behind you. You've talked about Dillon. Tell us the story of what Dillon is. How did that come into the world?
Yeah, so year one was like, it was a cheese called Priscilla that I won with a Quicke's Cheddar. I wanted to do a really clean maturation job and show what we were good at, nothing too crazy. The second year was I won with Vacherin Not d'Or, which was a brie style, but then moved to a Caerphilly. Like, I really loved the milk at Fen Farm, and I was thinking about the cheeses that are displayed in such a way that really embrace that like milk grassy, and Caerphilly is always up there for me on that one. And then this year, yeah, we had a few different styles that I entered, but basically it was more about, I felt like Quicke's is in a really good space when it loses a lot of moisture. So it's quite aggressive with. And in that period, you know, when you're maturing cheese and the rind forms on the outside, they become quite firm and basically moisture loss just sort of slows up. And I was trying to work out how do I continue that in a really sort of subtle way without getting bluing. So, you know, like Claire was saying, you know, there was like this idea that I was like going to pierce it, and then the piercing was going to be too big. So we were looking for like a device that essentially would pierce it really subtly, the cheese, and sort of get it going. So I landed upon this tool here, which has like 244 spikes, which we have different versions of this now. We've got one 3D printed that's a little bit more technical than what its usual implement is for. And run that across the top of the cheese and around the sides, creating.
Do you want to hold it up to the screen a bit closer?
Yeah. You can't believe.
So it's a little wheel essentially.
It's a wheel with like
240 tiny little spike, like a medieval torture device.
Yeah, medieval torturing the cheese. Yeah, and it's got like, so they're like 2 mil, so they're just barely piercing the top of the cheese, right? And then
so what is that implement? Like, where did you get it from? Like, what's its original?
So I hear that it's used for people who want to grow beards. So that sounds like, you know.
Does it work on scalps?
Yeah. And like you know, like Google typing in, does anyone do a spiked wheel, and all weird stuff was coming up, and I was like, well, that could work, and did a few tests on other cheese. I was like, no, this works, it's fine, you know, that would be great. And yeah, that was like the original one without, you know, you don't want to invest a lot of money going out there. And now we have some which are slightly more wider spikes and 3D printed. So that kind of, it's a subtle difference, but it just means that you know, we've got these kind of bespoke implements for this. And so the moisture loss was consistent throughout the journey, obviously slowed up towards the end. There's only so much moisture you can get through the cheese. But one of the most incredible things was that it basically lifts up mold, runs over, and then like reseats it. So like there was this, like with these, it's on my Instagram, there was a period where they were like quite patchy, and it came up to the point of the plan, which was the first spiking. And essentially I'll run it over all the cheeses. That was a lot of work rather than doing it with doing it with a lot of cheeses. So there's another batch below me. And then there was just this like, I literally, like, I felt like I walked out of the room and walked back in, and there was just this explosion of like colors, flora. And that was like the interesting thing, that one, it like sped up mold production in such like a really, really quick way. And like a coverage, and even coverage, and two, the moisture loss that happened throughout the cheese journey. You know, so that coupled with, you know, high temperature moving gradually down, you know, high humidity produces a really intense like cheese. Like I think like my first experience of it was that I just felt like it was like almost like savory knickknacks kind of scenario.
Wow. Nice and spicy.
Oh my God, it was just so like, it's so delicious. So and it's lovely like maturing one cheese, because like you like have that moment and that experience and that connection with that one cheese, and hopefully these will be similar in vein. They're as close as I can get it.
So you won with the one cheese.
Yes.
But obviously behind you is a lot more cheeses. Yeah. So what was your journey there? Like you decided to go into actual production.
Yeah. So spoke to Jane and Mary about bringing it to life, you know, and there's a lot of back and forth in that, you know.
Jane and Mary Quicke from
Mary Quicke, Quicke's farm. Yeah, sorry. And just like working on that and trying to find a batch of cheese which is as close as the make sheet, you know, as close to, you know, the Affineur of the year cheese that was submitted. So essentially finding that, waiting for it, and then Jane's like, "It's here, go!" So it like comes in, and then just kind of like comparing that and seeing where we actually are and trying to get it as close to that as possible. But yeah, I'm so happy with them at the moment. We're on track. So
But these aren't ready. They're not on sale yet, are they?
no,
They're not ready.
yeah, so we've got like 3 or 4 months to go on these. They're on
Yeah.
sale, like you can pre-order one. James
Right.
Grant from number 2 Pound Street bought these two here, so we sold 15 of them already. So any
Fantastic.
takers for a whole
Yeah.
wheel of cheese? Just drop
Very
me a
exciting.
line.
So they're 8 kilos in weight, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They
8 kilos.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have to butt in because this is what really excites me about the competition is with both you and Claire have made commercial successful cheeses from the competition. So inspired by Affineur of the Year. And Claire's got her Bidlea Blue, you've got Dillon. And I just think that's fantastic. It's just wonderful.
Yeah.
So congratulations and
Yeah,
well done. And how much are they?
I don't know yet. That's the weird thing. I haven't there's moisture loss going on and stuff like that.
£100 a
Tracy,
kilo.
yeah. But yeah, they'll be very exclusive and very, so. But yeah, it's one of those things, right? We love cheese. Everyone probably sitting down on a sort of, what day is it? Tuesday evening, watching me talk about cheese means they love it. But to do it commercially, it's got to be viable, right? So Affineur of the Year and being able to make, bring the cheese in production, one makes it interesting to our customers and, essentially funds me to do what I love,
Susan's asked into a good question, actually. Once opened, what is the shelf life of this cheese?
Yeah,
and how does it continue to develop on the counter after being opened, or do you know yet?
Really, yeah. I mean, we won't know with this batch, but we've done trial
Pretty
batches.
close.
So I wouldn't be able to give you the precise shelf life when cut, but I'm thinking 21 days at the moment from cut. But in terms of it developing on the counter, I think really, really well. So, when you're looking at a, low moisture cheese, they tend to survive pretty well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
A bit like your parmesans. Amazing.
Yeah, kind of in that vein, but a little bit more, like kind of more moisture is there, but yeah.
While I'm on the business stuff, how else has your business changed over the, winning 3 times? You're in demand. You're at Gardener's World, BBC Good Food Show. To talk about cheese and affinage and the business, how's that changed as well?
Yeah, I mean, our affinage become a corner point, like in what we do and everything that goes out, that quality level, even, the younger cheeses or the quick matures, it's a major part of our business and demand is extremely high. I mean, we started off with 1 room, now we have 5. And the 5th one meant to be overflow just for Christmas, but not so much anymore. So it's we're still a small business, right? So every kind of like a bit helps. But this kind of like scenario where we can do what we love and like really refining what we do and have demand for it because people are interested and there's like a really cool group online, small group of people that take our cheese and go and buy somewhere else and do comparisons and things like that. So it's just nice to see and like to, affinage as well, as a wholesaler, sometimes you can feel, disconnected from the cheese and it allows you to be so connected to it, which is really, really important. And it's been great. We kind of had a waiting list for customers after Affineur of the Year for about 3 months until I caught up in terms of, so we're getting there again.
Fantastic. And Matthew, do you want to ask Perry about his other genius inventions?
I do. Well, something that you shared with us the other day that in my previous life, also as an affineur, I would have been very excited about. You've built an app.
Yeah, so this is like hot off the press. So like I think we were talking about it before, and that's how we got into the conversation that,
Mm.
record keeping is really key for me. Knowing what you did previously compared to what you're doing right now. It's
Especially with a
not.
cheese that you're aging for so long.
Yeah, yeah,
You
and
have to remember from months and months ago of what exactly you did.
exactly. So I had this kind of long spreadsheet with everything that I was doing, monitoring, and you'd be in a situation where a cheese would do something, so you would adjust, and you'd have to go back
Mm.
through all your notes. So that kind of went from paper in year one, year two, it kind of went into Excel, and then sort of borderline year three, and today basically built an app to sort of allow me to. I think I've shared this now, right? You might be able to see it. Can you see it? Yeah.
It's it's up.
It's up. Yeah. So
Yep.
basically, just monitoring all the cheese and what you need to do with it. So essentially, we're looking at the Dillon project we have in front of us. When we receive that cheese in, how much moisture loss we have. Tracking everything that can come in there, logging everything that comes in. Attributing a plan to the cheese. So that's basically like for like Dillon, and then comparing. So doing a contrast, so we can see this is roughly there or thereabouts, on track with the moisture loss that we had in the Affineur of the Year cheese. And then like key thing, photos, right? So we can just have a little look on how cheese is developing over time. So you can see
Look
what.
at those beauties.
And I think
Yeah.
at that point, so this is like the kind of like first point where they begin to just go like bang and just kind of like bloom really, really well
Whoa, look at those.
on the outside of the cheese. But it's really important for me that like so we can see the stages, and then once you build a profile, you've got that to refer to. So you can take a look back what you did previously and kind of go from there. And like the amazing thing, you can build reports. So if you're salsa plus cheese like us, you can literally just click it and just like create a report for them to know, which hits all the kind of levels. So yeah, that's
I
like kind of like half available for like alpha testers now. And I'll drop a link in the chat. People can just sign up, and I'll drop them an email if they want to give it a go. But you can build new
Is it?
programs in. Yeah.
It's not available yet on the App Store or
No,
Google
no, it's
Play
not
or anything
available
like
yet
that.
on the App Store, but yeah,
But
it's more like web app kind of based, so through a browser for multiple devices, so you can have it on iPhone, Android, on your computer upstairs, on your laptop that you have here. So, like I think a lot of people say this is like a scenario where you kind of get to an area where you've just got to start logging things and start understanding
mm,
where the cheese is at, and having that data, it's information, it's evidence to help you make the next decision.
well,
definitely.
and consistency, because you're selling this to the public, and they want consistent products, because that's why
Yeah.
how supermarkets win, isn't it? They work with big cheese makers that do make decisions to make very consistent cheeses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Whereas
Once you
this
get the
is,
next batch, I guess that's when it's really going to come into its own. That you can start comparing and contrasting and referring back.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's hard to find that kind of area where you're like, the cheese is alive. It's never going to be the same. It's never going to be the
mhm,
same. And it's great that for years we've had like Affineur instinct, which I love, like this month. But
Mm,
but it's nice to have that and a little bit of data to say, oh, that looks
absolutely.
similar to that, and I did that, and that produced that. So just information to kind of like feed that. And I hate the fact that Steve has just said in the fact that it should be called Apineur.
Called Affineur.
well, yeah.
No, I don't.
Does it
No,
have a
no.
name?
So
That's
what
so
is it
good.
called? So
Yeah.
what is it
It's just
called?
called the maturation log. Yeah, that's it.
Boring.
Boring.
Well, you can read when you launch it on the App Store, you can change the name. You can have
Yeah.
that one for
I
free
know,
from
I
the
might
webinar,
need
I
that.
think, Steve.
Yeah,
Happener of
but
the year.
Yeah, Affineur of the Year.
that's good.
You definitely, we could have an award for that. Um, Sue is saying you should absolutely show Lauren at Mons. So I'll bring that round to nicely to Perry is judging this year, and we've got a very special award this year, so which we've created with Mons Formation, with Lauren Mons and Sue Sturman and Perry and Emma Young, to it's an award to recognise an up and coming affineur. Their prize is to go and work with Lauren Mons and Mons Formation in their caves in France, which, Perry, you started your journey with that course, didn't you? You went and studied that course.
Fantastic course. Couldn't recommend it enough. Just going and seeing it done at scale with some of the best people, Susan, Emma, and Laurent, is a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I think that's an amazing thing, and you're going to be one of the judges for that special prize, which is extra to the main prize of Affineur of the Year. So thank you for judging for that, and we're letting you back in a couple of years.
Couple of years. Nice break. I can get up to speed with all the Dillons, the thousands.
Claire's very happy. Claire, I have got a question for you actually that was in the Q&A from Jean, which was, where do you source the vine leaves, and why did you choose vine leaves over nettles? And I was gonna, I mean, you don't want to get stung.
Well, yeah, that would be the vine leaves. We actually source they're actually brined for us. So they are. We did toy with the idea of, could we, use a local vineyard and sort of that around certain times of year take from them, but we from a, like Perry was just saying there about being sort of salsa approved, sort of in terms of handling and micro issues around another ingredient into the dairy. So we they come in glass jars, and they're in a brine solution for us. So and that works for us on the quantities that we use.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and it's fantastic that Perry's app can produce a salsa report, and I think that's just fantastic, and that's always very part of the regulation and good practice that you're talking about there. This webinar was called After the Win, and I must say congratulations to both of you on winning various trophies at Affineur of the Year, but also in winning in your businesses. It's just fantastic to see. It's really, it's brilliant. And for two very young people in the industry as well, although Claire's going to say, I've been doing it for 15 years. I'm not young.
I don't feel young anymore.
Neither do I.
Any words of advice from either of you around for our competitors this year? They haven't got long, though. They've only got a month and a half. Any advice?
Go on, Claire.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, I think it's just a great competition if you haven't entered this year, and you can get to go along and just be inspired, because I think, as I say, it's just such a buzz around. And I think Perry said, it doesn't feel like a competition. It doesn't feel, if you're up against people, it just feels very collaborative, and people sort of, they want to tell you what they've done. It's about sharing ideas, and that for us, I think, when you scrolled away in the dairy with no windows and surrounded by white walls to sort of go out and get all this inspiration. So yeah, I just say get caught up in it and if you can.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, I would just say, take competing seriously. Get your affinage sorted. But don't take the competition seriously. Turn up, learn, speak to other people, find out new techniques, find out new things that you can implement in your own place. And anyone out there who's thinking about affinage or anything, just get started, just give it a go. The simple way is to grab a spec sheet from your favorite cheesemaker, work out what their limitations are within shelf life, and start maturing and changing that profile a little bit. And that's a good place to start.
Absolutely. And we've got amazing prizes this year, but we're not going to tell you what the ultimate prize is. Obviously, you get a lovely trophy. But thank you very much. Matthew, thank you for hosting with us. Matthew is our events coordinator and working on lots of micro courses with us as well. So bringing lots more education from his experience in the industry. So thank you for tonight, and thanks Claire, thanks Perry. See you all June, middle of June.
Exciting.
Very exciting. I am going to create a wallpaper from your backdrop. I think it would make a great wallpaper, Perry.
This one, yeah, definitely.
For my cheese office, I'm going to.
Yeah, I'll do some close-ups and things like that. You know, maybe I'll perch in front of it or something like that. It'll look really nice. Yeah,
absolutely.
But thanks for having me. I really appreciate talking about maturing cheese. So, and thanks for everything both of you do. Appreciate it.
Not at all. Thank you most of all to all the people joining from around the world as well. Amazing.
Yeah.
God bless. Good night.
Good night.
See you all
Thank you very
soon.
much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.